The Ultimate Husband. By Sky Kissing Wolf. Episode 39. William Linden. This fella must be out there shopping. He was dressed casually with his gorgeous-looking female secretary following him from behind. The secretary was holding a couple of shopping bags in her hands. This guy's was too much. Lily was working tirelessly, representing the Linden family to work with Platinum Corporation, but he was out here spending the company's money, looking chic with the secretary. Darryl smiled coldly in his heart. He was too lazy to be bothered and decided to speed up and leave. However, there were too many pedestrians in front. Hence, it was impossible to speed up. Seeing that Darryl ignored him, William smiled coldly and teased Darryl, "You're doing great now. Driving an Audi R8iZ." He glared into the passenger's seat while he spoke, looking at Jade. Attracted to Jade's beauty, William was shocked for a little while, and smiled. "This lady here doesn't look familiar. What's your name?" Although Jade was Lily's best friend, William had never seen her before. Hence, he did not know who she was. As such, Jade did not know who William was either. Not knowing what was going on, she dared not speak. She just pretended she did not hear anything. Darryl looked at William emotionlessly and said, "What does knowing her name have to do with you?" William was upset and raised his voice. "Darryl, you're just a live-in son-in-law. There is no need to pretend. Are you feeling proud because you are driving an R8? Is this even your car?" William glared at Jade again while he spoke. He was confident that the car belonged to Jade. As for the relationship between Darryl and Jade, there was no need to think further. Looking at Darryl while smiling coldly but remaining speechless, William continued teasing, "You have your way then, Darryl. You've stayed 3 years in our Linden family with no contribution, willingly became a toy boy, and now even hooked up with a rich lady? Hey, you really humiliate the Linden family." By now, the place was surrounded with people who were watching. Listening to what William just said, everyone in the vicinity started to explode. Huh. So, this guy is the live-in son-in-law of the Linden's family. I thought he was a second generation from a wealthy family. He really has thick skin. He is really superbly unique, being able to live like that. Interesting. A toy boy at home yet at the same time hooked up with a rich woman outside? What a way. When this useless one married Goddess Lily, it was the joke of the entire Donghai city. Huh. Today, we finally meet the useless one. The comments came one after another and Darryl started getting angry. Shit, this William Linden. He had to humiliate Darryl each time they met. Otherwise, he would not be comfortable. At that moment, Jade was really angry to the point that there were chills on the beautiful face of hers. After being alive for so many years, that was the first time she was being accused in public. Even if she needed a man, she did not need to chase after Darryl. Just when William continued talking, Jade pushed open the car door and got down. Instantly, everyone focused their attention into Jade. Many of them were attracted to Jade's sexy figure. However, they were also puzzled by her actions. What did she want to do? In their hearts, many had the same thoughts. In plain sight, Jade walked toward William in her stilettos. Looking at Jade who was in front of him, William smiled and said casually, "Pretty girl, you didn't know that this guy is a live-in son-in-law? No worries, you don't have to thank me." Slap. Just as he finished talking, Jade unexpectedly gave a big tight slap across William's face. At the crystal-clear sound of the slap, almost half of the street went silent. Everyone around them were stunned. You cheap woman. How dare you hit me?" William was still in shock as he stared blankly at Jade. He only came to his senses after a while, and started shouting. His secretary by his side was shocked too. She quickly held on to William's arm and asked softly, "Brother William, are you all right?" She then stared at Jade and said, "How could you hit him?" Jade did not even look at the secretary but stared at William and said coldly, "Elle slapped you, so what? Don't humans like you with mouths full of dirty and humiliating words deserve to be slapped?" At that juncture, Jade regained her previously aggressive self with little effort. She managed to take out William and his secretary. Episode 40. Everyone surrounding them was stunned. "Hey, this beauty has a hot temper. Sizzling hot." Many of them started to talk about Jade. Silently, of course, as they worried Jade might hear them, and they might annoy the fierce, beautiful lady. However, the crowd did not notice that when Jade was scolding William harshly, her focus was actually on Daryl's reaction. As she saw Daryl's mouth curve upward smiling in agreement of her actions, Jade felt more encouraged. "You, the filthy one that looked down on people. You think that Brother Darby needs a rich woman? You must be blind. Brother Darby?" After listening to how Jade addressed Daryl, everyone was yet again stunned. William was shocked too. After a few lines of scolding, Jade turned around and went back into the car. Standing there politely, she smiled sweetly and said, "Brother Darby, I didn't do anything wrong just now, right?" Daryl replied casually, "You did great." Jade was so happy to get the recognition from Daryl. She added, "My car is in that workshop right in front of you for maintenance. Don't bother, Brother Darby, you don't have to send me any further." Daryl nodded and said, "Fine, you may go." Jade quickly replied to him and bid farewell to Daryl. Under the curious gaze of everyone present, she turned and walked toward the exit. After Jade left, people that gathered around left as well, feeling that there would be nothing else interesting that would happen. At that juncture, William regathered his thoughts as he felt the burning pain on his face. With flames in his eyes, he stared at Daryl and said, "Daryl, so now you're not with a rich woman but having an affair instead. Confuse now. What's with this car? Did Lily use her position at work and the company's money for it?" Listening to William starting to speak nonsense again, Daryl felt ridiculous and calmly said, "You don't need to know how I got my car. The car does not have a single thing to do with your family's company." After saying that, looking at the traffic in front starting to ease, Daryl stepped on the accelerator and left. As William watched Daryl leave coldly, his anger boiled and he cursed, "Shit. Daryl Darby, we'll see. I'm not done with you yet." Then, he left the busy street with his secretary. At the Platinum Entertainment. After leaving the busy streets, Daryl went back to his office, and sent a message to Lily that he would not be going home later that night as he was busy. Lily did not question further and just replied with 3 words, "Fine, I know." The incident with William earlier totally did not affect Daryl's mood. Despite William's position in the Linden family, he was Granny Linden's favorite. In Daryl's eyes, he was only a clown, a retard. After confirming with Pearl that there were no other tasks that the headquarters required him to look into, Daryl proceeded to take a nap in the resting lounge. When he woke up later, he saw a wooden box behind the door, remembering the birthday present that Samson gave him the other day. Daryl reached out to the box and opened it. A light scent emerged from the wooden box when it was opened. Daryl was stunned. Inside the box was a round pill. A kidney tonic pill? A performance enhancement pill? An energy pill? For a moment, Daryl's mind was full of images of male health products as seen on the TV. He felt angry and funny at the same time. What was Samson trying to do? Playing fool with him? He would not dare to do that. Confused, Daryl gave Samson a call. Samson politely answered the call once it connected. "Mr. Darby, are there any instructions for me?" Daryl took a deep breath and said, "What is the pill you gave me for?" Hearing Daryl asking about the pill, Samson immediately explained in detail, Mr. Darby. Please do not be angry. I asked someone to get the pill from a master for me. It was said that it would strengthen one's health. Do you know that the master is really famous? A normal person would never be able to get it. I had to. Daryl was confused listening to him and quickly said, "That's fine. That's fine. It's all good now. You can get back to work." After hanging up the phone, Daryl was staring at the pill in doubt. To take? Or not to take it? Thinking that Samson would never harm him, Daryl swallowed the pill. Right after he swallowed the pill, Daryl regretted. This was because he felt there was a heat wave growing in his stomach, then through his entire body. At the same time, an unexplainable pain attacked his nerves. Daryl could not stand the feeling, rolling on the floor, and everything then went pitch black. He fainted. Episode 41. When he woke up again, Daryl realized he was lying on the floor in the office. He was sweating profusely and his clothes were drenched. The burning and pain throughout his body had now disappeared. Shit. Samson must have been cheated. 2 years have passed and whatever effects the pill had would have been gone by now. How was he so silly and ate it? Luckily nothing bad happened. As he was feeling lucky, his cell phone rang. Seeing an unknown number displayed, Daryl squeezed his brows and answered it. "How are you? Is this Daryl?" Once the call was connected, a gentle yet attractive voice came through the phone, sounding good and attractive. This voice sounded rather familiar. Daryl squeezed his brows further and asked, "You are?" She introduced herself with a smile. "Oh, sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I am Yvonne Young." Yvonne? Gulp. Daryl swallowed his saliva. An extremely gentle and sexy figure appeared in his mind. The next moment, Daryl smiled and asked, "What is the matter?" Yvonne sounded awkward and said, "It's about the other day during Granny Samantha's birthday dinner at the Lindens family. I know you presented her a Boundless Universe fan. I would like to take a few pictures, please." Daryl was a little shocked, and casually asked, "Oh, that." The Linden family thought it was a broken fan. Why is Ms. Young interested in it now? Yvonne answered without hesitation, "That is because they do not appreciate what it is. I know the history of the fan. It is a genuine item which was possessed by the Qianlong Emperor." Daryl was moved and said, "All right then, how do you wish to take pictures? You agree? That's great." Yvonne was so happy. She thought that Daryl would have rejected her request, as the fan was the one and only one. It was a priceless treasure indeed. Excitedly, Yvonne smiled and answered, If you are free, we can meet at my family's antique store later. There's a room designated for taking pictures of antique items." She then gave Daryl the address of the store. The antique store mentioned by Yvonne was named Pearl Pavilion. It was the largest antique shop in Donghai City. Daryl had always heard about it, but had never been there. Half an hour later, Daryl arrived at Pearl Pavilion with his item. Entering the main hall, he could see that Yvonne was already there waiting, in a dark-colored long dress. It looked more mysterious than the one she wore to Granny Samantha's birthday dinner. "Daryl, you are here." As Daryl walked in, Yvonne walked forward with a smile. Looking at the box in Daryl's hand, her beautiful eyes shone with excitement and passion. The person in charge of Pearl Pavilion, Peter William, looked curious. Ms. Yvonne had always carried herself with respect, rationale, and poise. She would never crack a joke. Thus, why was she so happy today? Also, who is this cheap-looking guy? Noticing the Peter's curiosity, Yvonne made a brief introduction. "This is Daryl, Mr. Darby from the Linden family. We have sunny matters to discuss, so watch the store and call me if there is anything." While speaking, she led Daryl into a private room. Peter was completely stunned. Daryl Darby from the Linden family? Was he not just a useless live-in son-in-law? What did Ms. Yvonne have to discuss with such a person? Although in doubt, William did not think further. He drew his attention back to the store. After Daryl followed Yvonne into the private room, he took out the fan and displayed it on the table. Yvonne, who was holding the camera, carefully took pictures while admiring the item. On the other hand, Daryl's attention was all on Yvonne. It had to be said. Yvonne was really attractive, beautiful, and had perfect facial features. Her body was as sexy as one could be. While he was deeply mesmerized by her, Yvonne finished the photo shoot. She smiled and thanked him. "Thank you, so much." Daryl put the fan away and casually answered, "It's just a small matter. If Ms. Young would like to see it again, feel free to contact me anytime." Hearing what Daryl had just said, Yvonne nodded happily and asked curiously, "How did you get the fan?" Honestly, she wanted to ask the question during Granny Samantha's family birthday dinner, but he did not get the chance to do so. A live-in son-in-law of the Linden family that was always being looked down on, sat at home for 3 years without a job, no income, but owned the Boundless Universe fan. Even a person with clear logical mind like Yvonne could not refrain herself from being curious. Daryl laughed and casually said, "It's a gift from a friend." She understood that Daryl was only trying to brush it off, so Yvonne smiled and did not ask further. At that juncture, Peter knocked on the door. Yvonne briefly asked, "Yes, is there anything?" Peter, who was slightly ashamed, said, "Miss, please come out. Someone would like to purchase some jades." "I can't decide." Yvonne was slightly disturbed. Peter was the most experienced antique appraiser. He had spent more than 10 years with antiques. If there was something he could not decide, it would be something uncommon. With that thought in mind, Yvonne rushed to open the door and went out. Daryl kept the fan, and followed her from behind. Once they reached the main hall, they saw a young lady with a little box on the counter in front of him. For more episode, don't forget to subscribe.